Hey guys, how's it going? Tom here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the different rules we're going to be using for the UK Grip League. Alright, thank you for joining me today. So we're going to have a look at all the different rules that are going to be used for the Grip League this year. There are quite a few controversial ones that I know people coming from like strongman aren't used to, so we're just going to have a look into them, what you can and can't use, really, like wrist wraps, straps, that sort of stuff. So yeah, let's get started with support. So with regards to using like wrist wraps, straps, elbow sleeves, all that kind of stuff, it's not allowed to be used in any grip events. The reason for that is if you're using wrist wraps, a lot of grip strength relies on wrist strength. So by you supporting your wrist, it's giving you an unfair advantage. I know people say like they've got weak wrists or injuries. It's part of the sport really, and if you're competing in grip, then you can't use wrist wraps. Same goes for elbow sleeves. It's almost giving you an advantage on supporting your elbow. So you are allowed to wear a weightlifting belt if you feel it's necessary. Knee sleeves are fine, but you've just got to stay away from the wrist wraps, which is the main one really. Another thing to mention is you can't use any sort of tape or plasters on your fingers. So if you've cut your hand during an event, like I remember back in my first event in 2019, the first event I tore all of my thumb open. And obviously I'm not allowed to cover it with a plaster or anything, so literally just had to pack it with chalk and carry on. That's the way it is in grip sport. Obviously, if you're using tape on your fingers, it's an unfair advantage. It might be giving you that little bit of extra grip on an implement or something like that. So yeah, that's probably everything in the support region covered there. Let's talk about the chalk. So you are actually only allowed to use powdered chalk for grip events. The reason why you're not allowed to use like liquid chalk or anything, or like tacky or anything like that, is purely because it has resin in it, which is like a glue. So it's giving you again an unfair advantage compared to magnesium carbonate, just regular powdered chalk. We use regular chalk to help prevent sweat really. So it's good to get a bit of adhesion on your hand and on the implement, and that just gives you that bit of extra grip, stops the sweat coming through your hands, which is going to help improve your performance without giving you an unfair advantage. Liquid chalk again, it's just like glue, a lot of different brands. So some might be okay, but a lot of brands will use like loads of resin in it and it's really sticky, especially some of those that include almost tacky in the liquid chalk. So we just stick to normal powdered chalk. Next, we'll just take a general overview of some of the main lifting rules for the events. These are in the previous videos going into each event. But generally, most of the time, you will be lifting to a certain height, usually 6 or 12 inches. That'll be using the crossbar, which you're required to touch. There's no referee's down signal. As soon as you feel it touch the bar, lower it back down in that controlled manner. If you drop it, it's a no lift. You've got to put it down in that controlled manner. And then obviously things like resting on your legs when you're lifting up. We can't do any hitching here. They're the main things really. So just using your hand and the implement. We really want to see people just testing out the grip strength, not how much they can rest on their arm, how much liquid chalk they can pack on the hands. So that's it really. If you want to take a look at the specific event rules, they will be down below as well, just the more in-depth details really. So yeah, I think that's just general overview of the rules. Next, we'll take a look at some tips really that I can give you that might help improve your performance over on the competition. All right, so a few tips that I think will really help you improve your performance on the day, especially if you're new to sort of grip competitions. They all run a little different to like your standard powerlifting or strongman competitions. So if you're unsure of what sort of weight you're going to be lifting, ask the host of the competition, just have a little warm up before, get a rough idea of what sort of weight you want to be starting at. And I'd really make sure you try and get all 3 lifts in, especially for the qualifiers. Don't take jumps that are too uncomfortable, but make sure you get some numbers on the board because you really want to be trying to get into the final. And by getting all 3 lifts on the board, you're going to improve your chances. If you go for something too high and miss it, you're missing out on valuable points there. So I'd always say make sure you have a little go on the equipment beforehand if you've not, get a rough idea of what sort of weight you want to be lifting, and then just make sure you get all 3 lifts in. With regards to warming up, I'd really try and warm up just before you're about to lift. So if you know you're going in at quite a high number, leave it till like the last minute sort of to warm up. You don't want to be warming up the whole time. You're just going to be wasting energy really, and you want to warm up, get straight into your lift, then you should be back into another lift pretty soon if you're going in at a higher level. So just try to avoid warming up too much almost, because you don't want to feel like you're waiting around. Just have a drink, have a little chill, and then when it's time you can see the numbers coming up towards yours, start warming up a bit, whether it's extensor bands, whether you've got another piece of equipment you can warm up on. But that's really a piece of key advice there, just to try and not waste energy. I think the last tip I can give you is cut your fingernails. So a lot of the grip equipment requires a lot of finger strength, and it requires you to almost bed your fingers into the equipment as much as you can. And if you've got longer fingernails, they're going to push up against the steel and it feels horrendous. I know if I'm like doing a bit of hub lifting, or especially on the ridge, you really want to try and wedge your fingers as close to the implement as you can. And if you've got longer fingernails, it just feels horrible. So I always make sure I cut them the night before. That's just a really simple, easy tip that you can try, and it will really help you on the day. I think that's pretty much everything covered there. One question we did get was, what if I compete in the qualifier at a certain weight and then come to the final and he's changed weight category? Basically, whichever weight you enter the qualifier in is the weight you'd be taken into the final, because we're technically giving you a spot in that category for the final. So it's unfair really if you're going in at a certain category and then maybe cutting a few kilos, getting into the one below, because it's not fair on the guys that have qualified in that weight category in the first place. So whichever weight you do in the qualifier will be the weight you are in the final. And I think we've decided, looking at the numbers of the people that have entered, we're going to take 5 people from each category, which is crazy really. When we started this out, we had no idea if it'd work, if anyone would want to get involved, but it's just crazy that we've got 8 different qualifiers all around the UK and over 50 people. It's just madness, and it's going to be an amazing final, a really high level it's looking like, especially in the 120 plus category men's. That's going to be really tasty to see what kind of numbers people can get, and how it is. You never know, someone in the lower weight category might take the overall win. It's just really exciting to see really what's going to happen, and I can't wait to get started with the qualifiers. I'm going to start training myself now, getting ready for it, see if I can get through to the final. Hopefully I can. I need to brush up on my training, definitely. So again, if you've got any questions, just let us know. Always happy to help out, and hopefully I've covered all the rules there. But if not, let us know and we'll see you soon.